Right now, at this exact moment, someone is thinking about you. Not a friend, not someone who's told you they care, not someone who's reached out, someone who hasn't said a word. They're watching your moves, tracking your patterns, maybe following your social media in silence, maybe just watching you across a room and quickly looking away when you glance in their direction. And the reason they're doing it? They're afraid of you. Not afraid in the way you're thinking, not trembling, not threatened. Afraid in a way that psychology, neuroscience, and evolutionary biology have spent decades trying to explain. And today, we're going to go there, deep, into science most people have never heard of, because the truth of why someone fears you from a distance is stranger, more fascinating, and more powerful than anything you've probably been told. Let's start with something most psychology videos will never tell you. The person who fears you didn't choose to. That's not a metaphor. That is a biological fact. Here's what happens in their brain when they encounter you or even think about you. Deep inside the human brain sits a small almond-shaped structure called the amygdala. It is one of the oldest parts of the brain. It predates language. It predates civilization. Its job, its only job, is to scan the environment for threats and trigger a response before you're even conscious of what's happening. And here is what makes this genuinely wild. Research has shown that the amygdala can detect a threat in under 100 milliseconds. For context, a blink of an eye takes 150 milliseconds. That means the person who fears you, their brain has already processed you as a threat before they've had time to blink, before the rational mind has said a word, before logic has entered the room. The alarm is already ringing, but it gets deeper. Scientists discovered that the amygdala responds to fearful stimuli, including threatening faces and dominant presences, even when those stimuli are invisible. They flashed images so fast they couldn't be consciously seen. The amygdala fired anyway. Think about what that means for you. The person watching you from across the room, they don't even need to be looking at you for their body to be reacting to you. The alarm is running in the background, quietly, constantly. And here's another layer that will rearrange how you think about all of this. When someone is afraid of you, they don't just feel like you're close. They literally perceive you as closer than you are. Research that tested 87 people found that individuals who were anxious about a particular person consistently overestimated how close that person was to them before the rational mind has said a word. Before logic has entered the room, the alarm is already ringing. But it gets deeper. Scientists discovered that the amygdala responds to fearful stimuli, including threatening faces and dominant presences, even when those stimuli are invisible. They flashed images so fast they couldn't be consciously seen. The amygdala fired anyway. Think about what that means for you. The person watching you from across the room, they don't even need to be looking at you for their body to be reacting to you. The alarm is running in the background, quietly, constantly. And here's another layer that will rearrange how you think about all of this. When someone is afraid of you, they don't just feel like you're close. They literally perceive you as closer than you are. Research that tested 87 people found that individuals who were anxious about a particular person consistently overestimated how close that person was to them, even in real physical space. Not a small distortion, a measurable, significant one. And that perceptual bias, the feeling that you're right next to them, even from across the room, directly drives how far they try to stay away from you. You don't move toward them. In their mind, you already have. And one more biological truth before we move on. Just like spider phobia causes people to perceive spiders as bigger and faster than they actually are, fear of a person causes the brain to amplify that person's threatening qualities. In their perception of you, you are slightly larger, slightly more intense, slightly more powerful than the real you standing in that room. Fear literally makes you bigger in someone else's mind. Now you might be wondering, why does this even exist? Why would human beings be wired to fear and observe powerful or confident people from a distance rather than just leaving? The answer goes back hundreds of thousands of years. Evolutionary psychologists identified what they call the social submissiveness system. It's a hardwired behavioral program present in primates long before humans existed, and it does something very specific. It causes lower status individuals to monitor dominant individuals without approaching them. Think about what that means. It's not just fear. It's a combination of watching, tracking, deferring, while still staying close enough to benefit from the group's protection. The person watching you from across the room? They are not being weird. They are running software that is older than language itself. That same program still runs in modern humans. In offices, at parties, in school hallways, in comment sections, whether we're aware of it or not. And here's the part that should shift something in you. Watching from a distance is not neutrality. It is not indifference. In the language of social biology, distance is deference. It is submission. It is an unconscious signal that says, I see you, I acknowledge what you are, and I'm staying over here. The person who never approaches you, never challenges you, watches you quietly, and looks away when your eyes meet. They have already, beneath conscious awareness, placed you above themselves. They just haven't told you, and they probably never will. Here's the thing about fear that almost no one talks about. There's a model in social psychology called the stereotype content model. And what it reveals is this. When someone perceives you as both highly capable and potentially threatening, even in a social sense, not a physical one, something unusual happens in their emotional brain. They feel fear and admiration at the same time. Not one, then the other, both, simultaneously. A cocktail of emotions that has no clean name in everyday language, but which researchers have studied and confirmed exists. Fear and admiration from the same source, produced by the same traits. And this is why the person watching you from a distance is so hard to read. Because what you're looking at is not hatred. It's not jealousy exactly, though that's part of it. It's not respect exactly, though that's part of it too. It is something more uncomfortable than any of those individual things. It is someone being pulled in two directions by you at once. Part of them wants to come closer, to learn from you, to be near what they perceive you to have. Part of them wants to stay far away, because being near you highlights everything they fear they are not. And so they do the only thing that satisfies both poles simultaneously. They watch, from a distance, and they think you have no idea. Now let's talk about what this actually looks like in real life. Because once you know what to look for, you will start seeing it everywhere. The first tell, they talk about you to others, but never to you. This is one of the clearest signs. The person who fears you maintains a running commentary on your life, your choices, your moves, with everyone except you. Why? Because talking to others about you is safe. Talking to you is not. You become a topic to be discussed rather than a person to be engaged. The second tell, they copy you. Psychologists call it mirroring. When someone fears and admires you simultaneously, they begin, unconsciously, absorbing your behaviors, your phrases, your habits, your style. It's not flattery in the conscious sense. It's an involuntary attempt to acquire what they believe you have. Watch for it. It's eerie when you first notice it. The third tell, they are aggressively polite to your face. Not normally polite. Excessively polite. The kind of polite that feels slightly off. This is an appeasement gesture, the social equivalent of showing open palms. If someone never disagrees with you, never pushes back, always agrees and compliments, that's not admiration. That's fear, wearing a pleasant mask. The fourth tell, they will never give you honest feedback. Here's a counterintuitive one. The person who fears you is incapable of giving you constructive criticism. Not unwilling, incapable. The psychological cost of being honest with you, of risking your reaction, is simply too high. So they praise everything. They validate everything. If you find you never receive real, useful feedback from a particular person, that absence is itself a form of data. The fifth tell. When they do criticize you, that's also fear. Sometimes fear disguises itself as dismissal, nitpicking your choices, downplaying your wins, quietly undermining your accomplishments with other people. Why? Because acknowledging you fully, admitting how impressed they are, requires a kind of vulnerability they cannot afford. Tearing you down even slightly is easier than standing in your presence and saying, "I see you, and I think you're remarkable." The sixth tell. Their body gives them away. When someone fears you, their body does specific, measurable things without their permission. They position objects between you and them, a bag, a drink, a chair. They angle their torso away. They take the seat furthest from yours. They linger in doorways rather than entering a room you're in. They're a continuous, unconscious calculation of how much space do I need to feel safe. The seventh tell. They watch you and quickly look away. The most classic tell of all. They watch because they can't help it. You occupy their attention involuntarily. But the moment you look back, they break contact immediately. Because sustained eye contact with someone you fear is a form of challenge, and they have no interest in challenging you. The speed of that look away tells you everything. The eighth tell. They never ask you for help. This one is subtle and fascinating. People who fear being judged by someone, even someone they admire, will avoid asking that person for help or advice, even when they desperately need it. They assume you're too important, too busy, too far above their concerns, so they struggle alone rather than come to you. Here is the part that might be the most important of everything we've discussed today. Most people who are feared do not know they are feared. And the reason is simple. The qualities that make you powerful to someone else are usually qualities you experience as normal. You're not performing them. You're not deploying them strategically. You're just being yourself. So let's talk about what those qualities actually are. Quiet competence. Not loud, not performed. Just the visible reality that you know what you're doing. Research has confirmed that highly capable people trigger feelings of inadequacy in others, leading them to maintain distance rather than engage. Your competence is not an attack on them, but their insecurity experiences it as one. Emotional steadiness. You don't perform distress. You don't seek validation in public. You don't need the room to know you're hurting. And for people who are internally chaotic, who constantly need reassurance and reaction, your steadiness is deeply unsettling. It holds up a mirror to their instability. Unpredictability. Not chaos. Strategic unpredictability. The fact that people can't quite read you, can't quite predict what you'll say or do, keeps them perpetually slightly off balance in your presence. And that discomfort, the cognitive load of not knowing, often registers as threat. Status signals. Research from a classic study showed that people gave high-status individuals significantly more leeway, while insisting they would have treated anyone equally. Status symbols alone, your confidence, your posture, the way you carry yourself, alter how people behave around you without a single word being spoken. The hardest thing to sit with in all of this is this. You might have spent years wondering why someone doesn't approach you. Why they seem cold, or avoidant, or critical. Why they won't engage directly. And the answer might be the last thing you expected. They don't avoid you because they think you're nothing. They avoid you because to them, you are too much. There is a paradox buried at the center of all of this that I want you to carry with you. The person who fears you, who watches you from a distance, who never approaches, who is silent in your presence, knows you better than most of your actual friends. That sounds impossible. But consider what the research tells us. People who are anxious about and fixated on a particular person show enhanced memory of that person compared to people they simply like or feel neutral about. They track you. They remember what you wore, what you said, how you said it, the patterns in your behavior, the expressions on your face. Your actual friends might forget whole conversations. The person watching you from a distance has not forgotten a single detail. They have built a detailed, vivid mental model of you, constructed entirely from observation, from a safe distance, with zero direct access. And they have done this because you matter to them in a way they cannot admit, even to themselves. That is not nothing. That is, in its strange and complicated way, one of the most intense forms of attention one person can give another. It just doesn't look like what attention is supposed to look like. And underneath all of it, beneath the avoidance, the silence, the watching, is something almost indistinguishable from reverence. Fear and admiration traveling together, inseparable. The distance they keep is not emptiness. It is the shape of the space they believe you deserve. Now, the question that matters most isn't who is watching you. The question is, what are you going to do with that? Because power observed from a distance is still power. But power that reaches across the distance, that makes itself approachable, that chooses to close the gap, that becomes something rarer. It becomes influence. Something to think about. If this video made you think about someone in your life, or about yourself, share it. And if you want more content that goes this deep into human psychology, subscribe.